Hello, everyone. Um, Welcome to your 1 o'clock. This is an 8 to 10 focus. Today, our lesson is called My Hometown, a bit of talking about where we're from, things that have changed. It's a nice lesson. Nice lesson. Um, I'm getting really hungry, you guys. It's 1 o'clock. After this, I get to go eat. I've been teaching since this morning. So I invite you, please, to talk with me, entertain me so that I can think about you instead of thinking about my lunch because I want to be eating my lunch right now. I am hungry. So tell me about your name, where you're from, because today we're especially talking about our hometowns. So please introduce yourself and tell us where you are from. And be specific. Don't say I'm from Italy, and don't say I'm from Puglia. Tell me the name of your town. I'm about to do the same thing. So there you go. You got a little ticker there. You can answer the question, and I will tell you about me. So my name is Seth. You can see down in the corner there. I am from the United States, from Ohio, and more specifically, my town is called Berlin Heights. It's very, 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 very small. The entire town has 600 people. So it's very small, very small. And even more details, we live in the countryside. My parents live outside of this very small town, and to get to town, and we have to drive. How far is it? I have to think in kilometers because we don't use kilometers. Um, in It's about probably like 10 kilometers from my house into the town. So I live in the middle of, we say in the middle of nowhere. There's nothing around where I live. So I see there are 6 of you watching. I know you're here. So tell me about you and tell me where you're from and maybe some details. As we go through the lesson today, we'll have some opportunities to give some extra details. I'm going to put up here our lesson so you guys can see. Here it comes, and there it is. All right. Okay. Let me go back to, where's my lesson? There it is. Okay. So what are we doing in particular today? Oops, sorry. Describing our hometown. We're focusing especially on the present perfect. Okay. Present perfect and also present perfect continuous, I believe. And then using for and since. So this is, you guys, a really great lesson because present perfect, as you know, does not really exist in especially in Italian. Also, if we have French people watching, I speak French, and you do not have present perfect either in French. So the things we're going to be saying today in your language use quite different structures. So it's a good lesson for a nice review of how we use some of those structures. All right, so here we go. First, we have, this is for a bit of vocabulary and just some stories. So what I want to do, okay, I'm going to read this. While I am reading, can you guys look for words, look for these synonyms, okay? So find the synonyms for which words? For the words small, wide, updated, and a mess, okay? So you're looking, as I read, look for synonyms for those words. And if you want, you can type them in, okay? You can type them in the comments. So, small town USA. That's me. Anna is from a tiny town in the middle of the United States. She's lived there since she was born. Her town is tranquil and quiet. There is a broad river that runs along the edge of town, and she has been fishing there since she was a child. The library has been there for 50 years and was just renovated last fall. If she could change one thing about her town, it would be to add a traffic light. Right now, there is only a stop sign, and traffic is always jumbled on Main Street. I have to tell you, and every time I teach this lesson at school, um, this little story we're reading, this is my town. I have a very similar experience of this. Um, so again, if you guys want to look for these words, small, wide, updated, and a mess, okay? What are the synonyms? And while you do that, I'm going to take this story and compare it to mine so you can see the similarities between my town and Anna's town. So I'm not from the middle of the United States. The region where I'm from is called the Midwest. And even this word is a little bit confusing because you have mid, like middle, you have the word west. And the Midwest of the United States, it is not in the middle and it is not west. So, but we call it the Midwest. It's the area, if you know a bit of geography of the United States, there's an area in the north uh, with the border of Canada where there are 5 really big lakes. And those, I live in that area. Actually, from my house, we can see the lake. And these lakes are huge. They're very, 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 very big. Um, I'll get back to that. We have a few people speaking. Hello, Aria. When I see your name, Aria, I think of Game of Thrones. If you watch Game of Thrones, Arya Stark. Good morning. Good morning to you as well. No, now we're starting the afternoon, aren't we? Luigi says, hi, I'm Luigi. I'm from Genoa, but I was born in San Severino Lucano, a small town in Basilicata, a region in the south of Italy or in southern Italy, placed among Puglia, Campania, and Calabria. Okay, nice. Yeah, got those details. Thank you, Luigi. Is your town is San Severino? Is San Severino Lucano? It's a big name. How big? Like, what's the size of this town? You said a small town, but is it like 1,000 people or is it like 20,000 people? How big is it? Chiara says, hi. Hi, Chiara. And nice, Aria. She just woke up. Wow, you just woke up. It's already time for lunch, crazy girl. I've been up since 8 o'clock, before 8 o'clock. That. um, all right. I was talking though about where I'm from. There's a lake, and I want to talk more about this lake because it's always interesting to me when I speak to my students. You know, I teach in Italy, and when I talk about a lake, and I'm in Milan. So near Milan, in the north of Italy, we have some lakes. We have Lake Como. We have the lake, they call it Garda. In English, we'll say Garda Lake or Lago Maggiore. We have some lakes. And they're big, but to me, they are not big at all. The lake where I live, so from my house, when I look out the windows, I can see this lake, and it's called Lake Erie. And Lake Erie is there are 5, we call them the Great Lakes. They're big. And Lake Erie, just to help you understand the size of this lake, Lake Erie is the same size as the island of Sicily. So the island of Sicily and this lake are the same. The lake is big, it's huge, it's enormous. It looks like the sea. And the other side of the lake, so I'm in the United States, but if you cross the lake to the north, it's Canada. However, you cannot see it. You cannot see Canada. It's too far away. I think it's 100 kilometers. Like it's very, very far. Oh, nice. So Luigi, your town, a town of few souls. Nice word. Of few inhabitants, few people, few souls, more or less 1,700. All right. So it's a small, so it's similar to where I'm from. Mine has 600 people. 1,700 is still very small. Still very small. Nice. All right. Whoops. Okay. Let's look for these synonyms now. So small, wide, updated, and a mess. These you guys haven't shared with me, so I'll just go ahead and share them with you. So small, we're going to use, here it is, tiny. Anna's from a tiny town. So tiny and small both mean little. Tiny we often use as a way of being sort of like cute or to emphasize that it's very, very, it's so tiny. It's very small, very, very small. My town is a tiny town. I would also say that Luigi's town is a tiny town. Oh, Chiara, nice. You've asked me, is it possible to have a bath in it? I want to talk about one thing. In English, we don't, the word bath, okay? We use this word only in the bathroom, okay? If you have the vasca, the tub, the bathtub, this is where we take a bath. If we are thinking of the ocean or a lake or the sea, we talk about, usually we'll either use the word to go swimming. So yes, in the lake, you can go swimming. Okay. Bath in English, I think of like when you're a child and it's like playing, okay, in your house. We also have the word bathe, bathe. And maybe you've seen in some lessons sometimes we use like to sun bathe. So bathing it would be better to use than bath. So can you bathe? Can you bathe in the lake? This would be a bit more natural question us in English rather than take a bath. Take a bath is, take a shower, take a bath. That's cleaning yourself. Okay. But the answer to your question, Chiara, so maybe the better question is it possible to bathe in the lake? Yes, it is. I know in Italy, often people will say to me that it's not safe to go in a lake, but these lakes are so big, it's like the sea. Yeah, so we go in all the time. We go in all the time. This is a pretty a typical, let's say there's typical confusion just because of how you will use these words in English. So, yeah, so the lake is big. When I was a child, every day in the summertime, every day we would go swimming all day, every day. So I always find so many, especially in Italy, so many Italians love the sea. You love the sea. You love the beach. And because of my experience as a child growing up near this lake, I also really do love the water. Um, exactly. You take a bath. You take a bath in the bathroom. Swim in the ocean, swim in the sea, swim in a lake, swim in a river, but you take a bath in your bathroom. Um, Adia asks, what is the word for the sands that trap people? Adia, are you also thinking of like sand that, like in a movie, you see the person and very quickly they go down into the sand? Also, like maybe in the desert. I think I'm thinking of what you're thinking of. We call this quicksand. Sand. Okay, like the horse in the movie. I love this movie. I love that you wrote this, Adi. I love that movie. um, yeah, in quicksand, though, in particular, is going to be sand. In the movie, I know what I would use from because in the movie they're in the water. It's kind of gross. But you could quicksand. I don't think of quicksand as being wet. I think of quicksand being dry in English. Um, in I think in English, probably if I was to like thinking of this horse in that movie that disappears under the water, I would probably just use, I would say the horse sinks. So sink, right, is go down with water. If something is sinking, we have to be thinking water. I would say the horse sinks in the mud. Right? So if we have a boat, the boat sinks. Sinks to sink is when something goes below water. Um, Oops, I wrote I horse, not I horse. Sorry, the horse. The horse sinks in the mud. Oh, questions, you guys. Um, all right, let's look back at these. So small, tiny, wide. Wide is referring here to this river, a broad river. To remember this word, you guys, you can think of a very famous street in New York City, Broadway. And Broadway just means that it's very wide. If you think like I live in Milan, and in Milan we have Via Larga, and Via Larga in English would be Broadway. It just means it's a wide street, a very wide street. So, okay, updated. Where's updated? Here we see. So the library was renovated. To renovate. Renovate, we're usually especially using for if we're talking about like architectural things, right? So the restaurant renovation, if you change your house, you renovate your house. In this case, the library in this town was renovated. So renovated is very much connected with architecture and decoration, whereas updated, updated is quite common with technology. Uh, if you get a new phone, you update it. Or even an article. If an article, you read an article on the computer, and maybe the next day they changed the story. The story was updated. Right now with coronavirus, there are constant updates about the new things happening. Updated often used with technology or stories. Renovated is especially with buildings, architecture. Finally, a mess. A mess. That's here at the end, right? Um, the street. So she says that she wants there to be a traffic light because right now the traffic is always jumbled. Jumbled is kind of a fun word. It just means ordered. Very everything is twisted and like right now. Here, I'll show you an example. These chords, just all. It's a big confusion. Right? A jumbled, sometimes we even talk about a jumbled mess. Everything's just, okay. Here's a nice little, these two questions. If you guys want to look at the questions, maybe a personal review for yourself about the present perfect, some of these special words. So find the sentences that use since and for, and then when do we use since and when do we use for? Excuse me. So like here we have a first example. She has lived there since she was born. The library has been there for 50 years. Where's the other since? Oh, she has been fishing there since she was a child. So, oh, Luigi, thank you. The difference between an update and an upgrade. Nice question. An upgrade, your phone is a really easy example for an upgrade. An upgrade means, okay, I have this thing, I have this phone, and they're very, very connected, right? So with my phone, if I get another phone, like, so I don't know, I have Apple 7 and I want to go to Apple 8, that's an upgrade, right? I'm moving up in quality or the possibility of what something can do. So an upgrade has, think about also we use upgrade maybe at the airport. So you're flying with Ryanair and the basic seat, you can have one small bag and you have very little room. So that's basic. But if you upgrade, you can get a little more room and you have two bags. You can upgrade again and have more room and three bags, right? Or whatever. So the upgrade means that the quality is improving. In one example, or with technology, it would also mean that probably you have something older and you're getting the newer model. And this is where update and upgrade becomes almost the same, because with that example of the phone, when you upgrade your phone, you also are updating because you are getting the most recent, most current information or most current technology for the phone. So with your phone, when you upgrade, so when you get from iPhone 7 to iPhone 8, you're upgrading the phone, but probably the technology in the phone is also becoming better. But we often use update with the technology. So you are updating and upgrading, even both. Good job there. I hope that was clear. um, Good question. Thank you, Luigi. Adia says we use, so back to since and for. So these things have to do with present perfect, right? Since indicates a moment from which something happened. For indicates the duration. That's exactly right. So I'll write two sentences that mean the same thing, right? I have lived in Milan since, because we said so, since indicates the moment it started. So I've lived in Milan since 2016, or I have lived in Milan for 4 years. Good job, Aria. Very nice. So we have both of these options in English. We can use since or for. Um, Sometimes, like for me, it's easier for me when I talk about Milan. I don't remember exactly the moment I came here. And so to use since is kind of difficult for me because I have to think, okay, wait, I've been here. I have to think too much. But I just know it's 4 years. So I've been here for 4 years. Easy, right? Or for example, I began working this morning at 9. And so it's easier for me, 9 o'clock, precise moment. I have been working since 9. But if I use for, I have to think, okay, now it is 1:30, 12:30, 11:30, 10:30, 9. I have been working for 4.5 hours. It takes too long. So I use since. Nice. Okay, let's keep going, you guys. So since and for to talk about time. Here we have um, this you guys need to conjugate verbs, this little story, conjugate verbs, and also decide, do we need for or since? Okay. If you're at home and you want to start typing some of the answers, I'll begin reading and please begin typing. Okay. So big city, UK. Wes is from a really congested, densely populated city in the UK. It is urban, advanced, and metropolitan with construction and industry everywhere. He, there, or since 6 years. They demolish and restructure buildings in his neighborhood every year. 2008. It is disruptive and noisy. If he could, he would move to a new flat on a charming, quiet street. All right. So remember that for and since are used with present perfect. If we see for or since, we need present perfect, right? Because these words are showing us sort of this duration that's happening. So because we see that we need this, and also since we have 6 years, we already know that this is duration. And as Arya so beautifully showed us, that we use for to indicate in the duration. So we know that this needs to be for. And here we have the verb live and we have he. So he has lived. He has lived there for 6 years. Okay. Again, here in this part, we have 2008. So here we see that we're showing duration in the other way. So again, Arya tells us we use since to indicate a moment from which something happened, from when it began. So we know that here we need since 2008. And we need to put these verbs into present perfect. So they have demolished. And here we can just say restructured. This restructured, however, this restructured is still connected with this have. Okay, so we could read they have demolished and have restructured buildings. But when they're very close together, when the verbs are very close together, we don't need to repeat auxiliary verbs. Okay, so this restructured is the past participle and is connected to this have. But because the verbs are so close, we can just say and restructured. We don't need to repeat all of the structure. Nice, Marco, thank you. So they have demolished and restructured buildings. Yes. Just a little note here. Do you guys remember any of you who have gotten into level, I believe it's in level 8 or 9, I don't remember, when we do present perfect continuous, Adia writes has been living, but here we have he has lived. Adia, there's no reason to be sorry because with 3 verbs, with the verbs to work, to live, and to study, the present perfect and present perfect continuous, they're the same for us. Okay, so something like I have lived, and when we're using also the time. So I have lived in Milan for 4 years is the same exact thing as I have been living in Milan for years. So with those 3 verbs, work, live, and study, because they're very long activities, they're things that happen for a long time, and they are things that don't change quickly, right? So if I say to you, as an example, if I say to you, I have lived in Milan for 4 years, the presumption is tomorrow I still live here, right? It's not that for living, we live somewhere. It's tomorrow, it's not changing. So they're the same for us. Same thing with living, with working, because generally we don't change our jobs all the time, right? Same thing with studying. Studying takes a long time. So if I am I'm not in university, but if you are in university and you say I've studied at Católica for 2 years, I understand that. Yeah, probably tomorrow, probably next year, you still study there. You're finishing a program. So with those 3 verbs, we can use both tenses. Let's see, you guys have done some other things up there. Everyone's giving me the answers. Perfect, beautiful. There they are. Okay. I think we have a few more vocab. Yeah, okay. Find a conditional sentence. Where is the conditional? There it is. Last sentence. Last sentence. If he could, he would move to a new flat on a charming, quiet street. This is our second conditional. Second conditional, which is for hypothetical situations, right? I'm trying to write, I'm spelling things wrong. Second conditional, hypotheticals, so not real. And let's just review our structure. So here you see if he could. So could, here we're using a modal, but remember that in general, this structure, we use if with the past tense. This is the one that's really important to remember, especially for Italian speakers, that in English, there is no congiuntivo, there is no subjunctive. No problem, Marco. See you later. So we just use the past. So, and in this case, could is sort of our past tense form for can. Modal verbs don't really have tense, but if I could, and then we need to use in the second phrase, we use the conditional, is the would form, right? So if he could, he would move. Yes. If I could go outside, I would. I would take a walk, but I must remain inside quarantine. Too bad. Let's continue. Question 2. 2 synonyms for crowded. That's right at the beginning. Oops, sorry. Oh gosh. Oh gosh. Oh gosh. Oh gosh. Go back to these. 2 synonyms for crowded. Here they are. Congested. Oh, congested. We also use congested if you have a cold. You know, sometimes when you have a cold, your nose becomes very, very full. We'll say my nose is congested. We talk about congestion. It's like what it means full. And densely populated. Those 2 words could be words for crowded. 2 antonyms, opposites, for calm and quiet. Where is it? Where are they? There they are. Disruptive and noisy. All right. Nice. We're going to keep on going. So here is a part where now we have some questions, okay? So where is your hometown? Please answer these. So if you want, you can even write something similar to what you see here, the big city UK, or the previous one, the small town USA. So tell me, where is your hometown? How has it changed over the years? Has it changed for the better or for the worse? And what is the best thing about your hometown and the worst thing? Next up, yes, Luigi says crammed. And crammed is, crammed has really an idea of, like if you live in Milan or a city with a metro or buses, sometimes in the morning, the people are crammed in very, very small spaces. Next word, Luigi. Another word that's very similar is jammed. Jammed in. To jam something in is to force things in. Crammed, jammed in, to jam in, to cram. Yeah. Nice word, Luigi. That's not a normal word to know. Good for you. Okay, I'll give you guys just a moment, and I will answer these questions quickly. So I've told you all a little bit, but let me put up here. Let's see. Describe your town to me. Well, I'll say to us. Let's say, describe your town to us. Here we go. So, my town, I told you is called Berlin Heights. It is very small. It is teeny tiny, 600 people. How has it changed over the years? Um, it has changed, and then, well, I need to look at the second part. Has it changed for the better or the worse? Changed for the worse because it keeps getting smaller and smaller. So, since I lived there, since I was born, I can remember when I was well, the things I remember is when I was younger, there was a restaurant, a small restaurant, and a bar, and a bank, and a library, and a post office. Had these things. The bank is gone. The bank is closed. The restaurant and the bar, previously they were separate businesses. Both of them have sort of I don't know the details basically, but now there is one eating place, bar and the restaurant together. Remember also that in American English in particular, a bar is for alcohol, right? Different from the Italian idea of bar. Bar is usually where we go maybe after work to have drink of alcohol, a beer or something. So that has changed. The bar and the restaurant, I think the ones I remember, closed, and a new bar restaurant combination. The post office and the bank, or the post office and the library, are still there. They're actually the same building. Very small town. Very, very small. The best thing about my hometown, actually, I think the best thing is that it is very small and quiet. Um, I I liked that. My childhood, my I told you my parents lived way out in the countryside, and I enjoyed growing up in the country. We had lots of land, the lake, so playing in the lake all the time. We used to plant a lot of flowers and also food. Um, I had a really nice childhood. Um, I would also say that the worst thing is also the size. My town is so small that everyone knows everything that is happening. Everyone. There are no secrets. And that can become really difficult, especially like when I was in high school. And when you're in high school, you begin to want more freedom from your parents and things, and that was impossible. Like after school, um, if I, after school, the rule in my family was after school I go home. And if I didn't go home, like so, because my parents both worked, so they trusted me that after school that I would go home. If I didn't go home, um, someone would my parents always knew. So maybe after school I would go first to a friend's house for, your kids, you're in high school, so maybe we had some food, a snack, and then I would go home. But always in the evening, when my mom and dad would finally come home, always my mom would say, "Why did you go to your friend's house?" And I said, "How do you know that?" She said, "Well, because, someone saw you and they called me." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, everyone knew everything." So that was difficult. Let's see what you guys have got to say. Adia has said some stuff. Let's see. Adia says, "I'm from Naples, a city that I have always found charming. In recent years, it seems to have become too overpopulated." Adia, a tiny, tiny thing here. Overpopulated already is negative. So we don't need to say too overpopulated. We can just say that it seems to have become overpopulated, because over all is adding this sort of negative, this negative. right? So it's just or you could say two ways. You could say it seems to have become too populated, or it has become overpopulated. Okay, and then she continues and says, as a result, there is often too much mess and dirt. If I could, I would go back to when I was little, and there was much. I would say there was much more green, or it was much greener. It is the city, much greener, or there was much more green space and freer to be around. Nice. I've been twice to Naples, and both times I enjoyed both visits. Actually, the last time I was there, it was so hot. It was so hot, but it's a beautiful city. I need to know more about Naples. I need to spend some time. My both times I went, Ari, I'm sure you know this place on in what is it, Piazza del Plebiscito or something? The big piazza, that enormous piazza. And when you enter the piazza, right on the corner, there is a pastry shop or a bar that's I believe it's very famous. And we went there and we got the sfogliatella, I think, and coffee and baba and all these. It was wonderful. The pastries in well, food in Campania is always great. These are my memories of Naples. She also says, I think the best thing is the beauty that can be found on every corner. Continuous wonder and open air museum. Ah, very nice, Aria. Really nice sentences. I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. Maybe. The world has lots of places to go. I would change just for a house by the sea. That's a nice idea too. I would like to return to the water as well. Luigi says the best things are several. To spend, I think that Luigi better, usually several, we are going to use as an adjective to connect to the thing. So I think I would say there are several good things, or the best things are, or there are a few things. Okay, so several, we usually want to say the thing. So like, I have several apples. Or maybe if I just say there are several, this would be as a response to the question, to a specific question, like what are the best things in your city? There are several, right? Um, let's see though. Anyways, the best things are, there are a few good things: to spend time in nature, pure air, biological. We don't use biological food. What do we say? I'm always messing this up because in Italian you say bio. We say organic. In English we use the word organic. Organic food. It's just a different word we use. Organic food, and people are, remember that in English people is plural. People are very friendly. The worst thing is the low level of basic services. Cambrinos, yes, that's it. Thank you, Ari. So Luigi, this is your town in down in the south, right? You said you're Basilica. Nice, cool. Have to return. I will try. Let's hope that by fall we are allowed to travel. Oh my goodness. This quarantine is getting crazy. Nice job, you guys. Really good job with your descriptions. Thanks a lot for that. It's fun. It's fun to hear about these things. Okay, next, just a few kind of fun words. Okay, these is vocabulary, but nice ways to talk about where we're from. Oops, just before we start, let's look at Chiara. Chiara says, I'm from Rome. I love Rome, Chiara. I love Rome. It's my favorite. I want to live in Rome. I'm from Rome, a big city that has changed for the worse, unfortunately. Many people say this. You know. Anyway, I can't stop loving its cultural and artistic heritage and the huge green areas. Yeah, really nice sentence, Chiara. Good job. Um, for me, Rome is like this. I'm always really, my partner, I live with an Italian and he's from Rome. And we go there often, and I'm always really. It's so strange to me that, like you said, Chiara, these huge green areas, these huge green spaces where um, Rome is enormous. It's so big, um, but there are trees everywhere. It's so green. And I think it's really interesting how even as Rome grew and grew and grew, um, the city has been able to keep um, so much. It feels like you're sort of in the countryside, even though you're in a very big city. Um, the strangest place, the place in particular that I think of in Rome, that I always think, this is so weird that I'm very much in the city, but I don't feel like I'm in a city, is if you go a little bit in the northern part of still in close to the center, but where um, the river, what do we call the Tiber? We call it the Tiber River. Tevere, we call it Tiber. So in the northern part of the Tiber, where you have the big, it's like a sports complex that I think Mussolini built it in the 40s. Big sporting complex. And when I go to Rome, I stay at my partner's house, which is in like the northeast of Rome. And sometimes we drive down into the city because a lot of his family lives in, I can't remember the name of the neighborhood. Um, it's the neighborhood near San Pietro, and I can't remember near the Vatican. Um, it's sort of a there's a metro stop, Ottaviano, I think. So it's a big residential neighborhood, and a lot of his family lives there. So often we drive from his house, and we have to drive by this this sporting complex, and there's trees everywhere. But then all of a sudden you're like, oh, here we're in Rome, but you're in like a forest. I always think it's so strange. It's nice. Okay, these words, 2 minutes. I have to do these. I have to stop talking, you guys. So here we have all these words that kind of describe different areas of a city. So I'll read them quickly. The boondocks. The boondocks means docks are where we put boats. The boondocks are usually like really like Napoli would have boondocks. An area of the city where there's a lot of like boats, but not boats for pleasure, industry type things. And maybe that's not a nice place to go. It's an old port, or very industrial. Genova would have boondocks. My town is too small, but there are some other towns nearby that have these kind of old ports, for industry that are kind of abandoned boondocks. Means it kind of means the middle of nowhere, a place where there's nothing. In the sticks, I have to go a little quicker, so I'm going to connect them. In sticks means very rural. My family lives in the sticks. Luigi, sounds to me like you also live in the sticks. There's nothing around the city center. Downtown is a particularly American word. We tend to say the downtown rather than the city center. Suburbs. Suburbs are the areas around a city. So already suburbs need to be in a city that's already pretty big. Okay, so Rome, Napoli, Milan have suburbs, but San Severino does not have suburbs. Two more words and I'm out, you guys. I'm not finished. Outskirts, the very edge of the city, right? And similar, maybe kind of similar to suburbs. So if you have a city, then you sort of have the outskirts and then you have the suburbs. These aren't really specific always words. They can be a bit interchangeable. Um, and then to be street smart or streetwise means that you understand how to live in a city. So like if you live in Milan or Rome, um, especially like in Rome, Rome's a good example. The buses and the metro are kind of unpredictable. But if you live in Rome, you know how to manage these things, right? That's being street smart or streetwise. when you know what to do. When there's a problem, uh-oh, this street is closed, but we can go this way. Be smart. Okay, you guys, I have to stop. Time to go eat lunch. Thank you very much for your comments and participating. You guys, there were some really nice things that you guys shared today about your cities. So thank you. Have a good lunch. Adia, get out of your pajamas. It is 2 o'clock. It's time to start the day. All right. I'll see you guys later. Have a good day. Bye-bye.